Okay, so in this video we're just going to have a quick overview of the Level 2 writing paper and have a bit of a look at the mark scheme before you attempt it for yourselves. Now, by this point in the course you'll have basically learned everything you need to do to be successful in this. It's just about how to apply it. So that's what we're going to look at now. So you'll see here there's the usual stuff, and you'll see this in the actual exam you go in for. This is a sample paper, so obviously the questions you get in your exam are going to be different, but the layout is going to be very similar. It's going to look very similar to this. And you'll see here you've got your candidate name, candidate enrollment number, everything like that, that you don't immediately know. Obviously you know your own date of birth and everything, will be available to you in the exam. First thing to draw your attention to here, it's 1 hour 20 minutes long. Now that's quite long. You've got 2 written tasks. That works out at 40 minutes per task. I would recommend that for each task, for those 40 minutes, you break it down. So for the first 5-10 minutes, you are planning. Okay, so you're looking at the task and you're planning. Remember, as we looked at in the planning section, it may seem counterintuitive, but taking a step back and taking 10 minutes to plan something rather than jumping straight in is going to save you an awful lot of time in the long run. It will save you longer than 10 minutes. So 5-10 minutes planning, round about 25-30 minutes writing it up, and then 5 minutes or maybe longer at the end, proofreading. Now, proofreading is crucial. You absolutely need to proofread. And we'll see the mark scheme later why that is the case. So, you need to answer both questions. That's another key thing here. You cannot pass the exam if you've not answered both questions. Now, you've got 54 marks for each question, and they are split perfectly evenly. Unlike in previous years where you would have one question which had more marks on it than the other, this year, this new type of exam, both questions are given equal weighting. Now another change here, you are not allowed dictionaries, grammar checks or spell checkers. Okay. However, the mark scheme has changed slightly and they're slightly more forgiving when it comes to spelling mistakes on the mark scheme. This is what you're going to be communicated on, and these are all the key skills that you've been learning to date in the course. So communicating information, ideas and opinions clearly, coherently and effectively. So getting across your ideas and opinions in a clear way. Using the appropriate amount of detail to suit audience and purpose. So thinking about who you're writing to and why, and thinking about how much detail you're going to need to go into. Appropriate format and structure for purpose and audience. So if it's asking you for a letter, you know, using the addresses in the correct place, all that. Conveying clear meaning and establishing cohesion using organisational markers. Organisational markers here are discourse markers. So when we're starting when we're starting a new paragraph, using a word like however, or firstly, secondly, thirdly, you know, just to sort of guide your reader through what you've written. Appropriate language and register, so tone and vocabulary for purpose and audience. So no using slang if you're writing to a bank manager. And constructing complex sentences consistently and accurately, and using paragraphing where appropriate. Again, we've looked at this quite a lot before now, and using correct spelling, punctuation and grammar. So, question 1 here. And you'll see here, the key thing is you get a fair amount of info in your you get given a little scenario here. So you're working for a head office, large high street clothes retailer. They've not given you the name. They expect you to make that up. You use a real one or use a fake one. You know, I know, call yourself, you know, say you're working for TK Maxx if you like, or just invent a clothing store. Doesn't really matter, okay? But what you're doing is you're being a mystery shopper, so you're writing a report. So your task is to write a report to give to your manager about the visit to one of your shops. Now, at level 2, they give you a fair bit of flexibility. At level 1, they give you quite a lot of information. It's quite structured. Level 2, you get to be a bit creative. So you're given some bullet points here to work on. So details of your visit, appearance and tidiness of the store. So like when you visited, everything like that. How it looked like. The staff, customer service and stock availability. So those are the key things you need to hit there. So you'd expect to see in the report those mentioned. Now, we suggest you write about 300 words. Key thing here, about 300 words. Do not waste time going through your text afterwards and counting every single word. You do not have time. What I suggest you do is handwrite a couple of these examples before you go in for the exam and work out roughly how many words per side of A4 you can write. So if you know you write about 150 words per side of A4, that's how big or small your handwriting is, then you know you need to write about 2 sides to answer this question. So what you'd do, your first 10 minutes of answering this task, you're going to use SLAP. So thinking about situation, layout, audience and purpose. If you don't remember SLAP, go back to the planning section on the Moodle or ask me in the virtual session. And from there, you're drawing out your key ideas, and you're already given some bullet points to work on here. So you have 5-10 minutes drafting in here, planning. Then you've got 25-30 minutes writing it out here. Don't be intimidated by the amount of pages they give you. You don't have to fill all these pages, by the way, guys. Okay? That's there for sort of corrections. That's there for people with really big handwriting sort of thing. Okay? And once you've done that, you proofread. Now, one thing I really do want to say here, and I really do want you to take on board, is they expect to see a document with some crossings out, some scribbles in the margin, that sort of thing. That's absolutely fine. They do not expect to see something perfect and polished because they know you do not have the time to write something perfect and polished. Do not go in here with the idea that your presentation has to be immaculate. As long as they can read what you've written, that's fine. Okay? Please do not go back and make sure that it looks absolutely perfect because you do not have time to do that in the exam. I would not have time to do that in the exam, and I've been teaching this subject for 10 years now. So, question 2. Now, one interesting thing here is in previous years, these would be thematically linked. So, for instance, you might have one question on graffiti in a local area, and the second question would be a newspaper article arguing whether or not graffiti is a bad thing. You know, your two tasks would have a thematic link. They'd be on the same topic. That's changed now. There is no thematic link. They're not on the same topic. And as you can see here, you've got a different question. So it says here, we sell to you, an online seller of films. And again, you get this little blurb here. And then your job really is to have a look at this and draw out that SLAP. So situation, layout, audience and purpose. So you're writing the blurb. You're writing a narrative for a film or a book that you know, or a TV drama that you know, and you're explaining what happens in it. So people who have missed it or whatever can catch up on it. And again, about 300 words. Okay? So once you've completed that task, again, you plan it using the planning space. You go back, you'd write it, and then, of course, at the end, you go through and you proofread. Proofreading is really important. And don't forget, they're not looking for something that looks perfect. They're looking for something that is good. Okay? So don't get hung up on the idea that it has to look absolutely perfect. As long as they can read it, that's fine. You're allowed to cross stuff out. Now, let's have a quick look at the mark scheme just to see what you're going to be marked on. There are other mark schemes included on the Moodle, or if you're one of my face-to-face or virtual learners, then just ask me for one because I can get you a copy of it. It doesn't matter so much if you see the mark scheme because, unlike the reading question, you're not really giving anything away in the mark scheme. So let's have a look. Now, you are marked holistically, and what that means is you get marked in two different areas in an overall capacity. So written composition includes things like using structure properly. It includes things like using language features, your vocabulary choice, your tone, and the information you're getting across. And then you get spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Now, written composition is worth 56%, with spelling, punctuation, and grammar being worth 44%. And we're going to have a look at now about how that's broken down. Now, you'll notice there are 4 bands here. Band 1 is limited, so you're not doing it very well at all. Band 2, you're doing it some of the time. Band 3, you're doing it most of the time. And Band 4, you're doing it almost all the time. Doesn't have to be completely, absolutely perfect, but it's mostly perfect. Now, you'll see here that these bullet points all correspond. So there's 6 bullet points here. The first one is about communicating information, ideas, and opinions clearly, coherently, and effectively. Then writing text of appropriate level of detail and length to suit audience and purpose. And you'll see here, at the start, you get given this anyway. You know, this is those bullet points are what you're getting marked on. Now, the way this works is we mark it overall holistically. So say I've got a learner, or say there's a learner who's doing that first bullet point consistently. So they're doing that all the time. And they're also consistently create and accurately constructing complex sentences. However, that second bullet point, they're only doing most of the time. Same with the third bullet point. You know, they're not that great at paragraphing, for instance, but they're doing it most of the time. And they are mostly using the correct getting across clear meaning. And on that last one there, they've got some use of different language and register for all intents and purposes, but it's not great. What we would do as markers is we'd work out roughly overall. So you've got most, if a student's getting most in band 3, a couple in band 4 and one in band 2, they would probably score towards the higher end of band 3. So they'd be getting maybe 9 or 10 or possibly even 11. Okay, so that's how that works. It's worked out overall. So we look at broadly your overall pattern of achievement within that. Okay. Now, spelling, punctuation and grammar, you get 4 marks for each area. So you get 4 marks for spelling, 4 for punctuation and 4 for grammar. And the way this works is this goes from 0, which is your spelling is so bad, or your punctuation or your grammar is so bad that the examiner can't exactly work out what you're trying to say. Then you have limited accuracy, so some accurate spelling. Spelling is accurate some of the time, with accurate spelling of more complex or irregular words. And the important thing to remember here is it's better to go out on a limb and use a more complex word, even if you're not entirely sure how it's spelled, because you'll gain more marks than you'll potentially lose making a few spelling errors. Because you'll notice here, spelling is consistently accurate, including ambitious and or irregular words where used. They don't expect perfect spelling, same as they don't expect perfect punctuation or perfect grammar. They expect mostly perfect. So the examiner will allow a couple of errors and you'll still be able to get top marks. Okay? That's what I meant when I said that spelling is marked slightly more leniently this time. Okay? So there we go. There's the mark scheme. There's the question paper. So now you can go to the Moodle or ask your tutor, download another question paper and have a go at that.